Good morning, everyone. It is 10:35, Wednesday, the 9th of September. I'm delighted that you've managed to find some time to join us for the first of four special sort of recovery, kind of strengthen your business. Certainly, let's look ahead and let's look positive for the future. Focused webinars with one of Scotland's foremost tourism experts, our friend in Glasgow. Are you under lockdown, Chris? I should have asked you that.
We are for households. Yes, we're not allowed to have people round to the house unless it's in the garden. So yeah, there's been a little bit of a restriction put in place at the
So
moment.
it's just as well you've got such a lovely view out of your window then, isn't it?
Very sure. It's usually just a blank wall, obviously, so I thought I'd make something a little bit nicer and put it up.
Indeed. So thank you all for coming. This, as I say, the first of four different subjects in each. We will send out a little special added bonus at the end of this initial session, and it will also be available, I think they call it on demand, to those people who didn't quite make it along this morning. I won't talk anymore, so sit back and welcome Chris Torres, who is going to take you on, I guess, a bit of a journey. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Laurie. Thanks everyone for attending. So my name is Chris Torres. I have been working in terms of marketing tourism businesses in the industry for the last 14 years. I've actually got a strong background in brand and marketing, as well as design. And I'd say about 14 years ago, when I set up my business, one of our very first customers was actually a tourism business. It was actually a tour operator called Max Adventure, based in Glasgow, who has now grown to become one of the biggest leading sort of self-guided companies in the country, for sure. And it's just spurred on our love for everything tourism. And over these past 14 years, we've been helping so many different tourism businesses market themselves online. And although we're based in Glasgow, about 90% of our customer base is actually international. So what this is allowing us to do is seeing how different destinations are working in terms of what's going on just now with COVID and everything else, in terms of how each destination is tackling this crisis, but also how each destination, how their customers buy. So a customer in Germany, for example, is very different from someone in America. And this has really given us lots of good insights into how different destinations tick, and we're use that information to help businesses here and abroad as well. So the next few workshops that we're going to be doing over the coming weeks will all be geared towards trying to give you a sense of what's happening now and how you can drive your business forward through various marketing techniques, through opportunities that we have seen that are coming up that you should be looking at now. And with this first workshop is giving you more information, some stats in terms of what's happening now, what you should be focusing on, and things that you should be doing going forward. Everything, there'll be certain aspects in this talk that you may not want to hear, so I will put that little caveat out. But I think it's only fair and right to tell you this is what's happening in the industry, this is what's happening now, and what not to expect and what to expect in 2021 and going forward. So we will have a section at the end for Q&A. So if you have any questions, there is a Q&A chat box as well, so you can put in any questions into there. But let's just go plow ahead and get on with the presentation. So over the last 5 months, 6 months, or it seems like a lifetime, we've all been having to self-isolate, as you know, but hopefully you've not really stopped any marketing during this time. A lot of businesses have, and that's understandable due to budget restraints or whatever. But in essence, you've had more time, so you should have been doing some form of marketing, whether that's just social media posting, putting out content, things that you can do that don't really cost you money, and it just costs you time. Because at the end of the day, you're never, at this moment in time, especially pre-lockdowns being lifted, you never really had an opportunity to have a captive audience, all sitting at home, all surfing the web more, all looking for things that they wish they could be doing or want to be doing once restrictions are lifted. So giving them good content, giving them something to read, giving them something to inspire to is something that should have been happening during these last 5 or 6 months. because people do want to do something. And we've seen that as soon as restrictions were lifted, though people went to Spain and Portugal and various other places as well, although, as we all know, those they have been shutting and opening up again in various places. So but the demand is there. People do want to travel and they do want to experience something as soon as the restrictions are lifted. Now, we've all been staring at the same four walls for the last 5 or 6 months. So people just do want to get out of the house, do something. And what we're seeing now is more and more people are certainly looking at the staycations, the locals, the domestic sort of markets. And that's what some of this presentation, this workshop will be focusing on for various reasons, which will become clear. So your customers will travel after COVID-19, but it just will not be the same. So your potential customers just won't be the same as what you may have been used to up until now. And that's more so because of the international market. The international market is not going to pick up anytime soon. You may see pockets of it here and there, but from all indications that was going on in the industry and the stats and everything else, it's not really going to pick up anytime soon, not even in 2021. But let me come on to that in a second. So domestic travel, as we know, is beginning to recover in some areas, and we're seeing that just now. A good friend of mine, Peter Syme, who runs a sort of adventure tour company in Scotland, kayaking, whitewater rafting, that type of thing. He has been inundated with bookings for that type of product. Outdoor activities, that type of thing is huge at the moment, but it's all locals, obviously, and people within the surrounding areas of where he is. So it's becoming, he's actually having to turn business away, partly because of the demand, but also because of the capacity, because he has less staff to handle these things. Though the restrictions in terms of social distancing has an effect on that as well. But the demand is there. So whether it's accommodation, whether it's traveling somewhere or doing an activity, the demand is there, the pent-up demand is there. But international travel will take 18 to 24 months to recover. So even in 2021, if you're betting on international travel to pick up anytime soon, if you rely on the US markets, if you rely on other international markets, don't expect it to be anywhere close to where it was pre-COVID. It's going to take a good 18 months. It may not be something you want to hear, but that is literally what's going to happen, and all indications, which we'll show you in a second, is pointing towards this. Until there's a vaccine, until there's all other things in place, destinations will be opening and closing, bubbles will open and close. That's just going to happen all throughout 2021. So that's why a lot of the focus should be around domestic, the locals, the staycation market within the UK, possibly Ireland if we're allowed that as well. But places closer to home is where you should be looking at the moment. So this was a few stats from The Economist in terms of what's been happening in terms of hotel searches in April 2020. And the stats haven't really changed much since then, because whether you're at tours activities or whether you are a hotel or you run an Airbnb or whatever it is that you do within tourism, looking at flights, looking at hotels is a good indication of how the industry is doing, what people are searching for. So we can see there in Britain, for example, the blue line, there's more people searching for local hotel searches and local accommodation than there is international. Germany is the only one that's really the standout in terms of it's flipped on its head, that they are looking for more international stuff because of their restrictions and they are able to travel, but that will probably all change. But literally every other destination, including the UK, is the searches and the focus has all been on local and domestic. So this is what you need to focus on. And not only that, if you look at Arrival did a survey in terms of what's happening in the industry just now, and they reckon from what's going on to get back to, and again this is being optimistic, getting back to 2019 levels in terms of tourism, you could be looking at 2023, possibly getting into 2024 before that happens. So we're in this for the long haul. We are going to be seeing, like I say, international travel effective for the next 18 months to 2 years. So that doesn't mean you don't market to international customers. You should do it if you can to a certain extent to drive traffic and hopefully drive future bookings and build up that marketing list of people you can market to. But ultimately, your main customer base is going to come from the local and domestic market at the moment in time and for the foreseeable future. So the bigger the country's COVID-19 outbreak, the bigger shift there is away from foreign travel, obviously. And the UK being one of them, because we're an island, people coming in, it's going to be harder. No, forget about the US market for the time being. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Though we have a number of customers who run tours and run tourism businesses. And Ireland, for example, who rely so heavily on the American market, they are being really badly affected by this. And they're looking to switch to self-drive tours around Ireland for locals and domestics and various other things as well. So, so don't expect the American market to pick up anytime soon, unless some miracle was to happen that a vaccine is suddenly in place. But that's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't. But if you also look at the flight information, and this is a source from the IATA, though international travel for the rest of 2020 is down by more than 55%. I would say it's higher than this, but by 55%, international travel is down worldwide. So that's a loss of nearly 3,000 million passengers and a loss of 314 billion US dollars to the worldwide travel sector. I suspect this is going to be higher going forward, but this is just another indication of saying this is what's happening with international travel. It's not going to be to the same levels as it was before. You're going to have less travellers coming from various destinations into the UK and into Scotland and various other places. So don't forget about it, but don't rely on it. It's not going to happen. And I know this all sounds doom and gloom at the moment, but there is opportunities out there. And this is what these series of workshops are going to show you, and hopefully and give you information in terms of what those opportunities will be. So one of the things I just wanted to add at this moment in time is I'm seeing a lot of companies out there trying to offer discounts in terms of trying to entice customers in. I'm not a big fan of discounting. One, it sort of cheapens your product. And there's a time and place for discounting, but for me, it cheapens the product. And at this moment in time, when you have less footfall, when there is pent-up demand, there is no need to discount. You should not discount, because people will want to do something. People will want to travel. People will want to go somewhere and stay in an Airbnb, stay in a hotel, stay in a guest house, do an activity, whatever it is that you focus on within tours and activities or within tourism or accommodation. People are wanting to do something. If you can help it, don't discount. No, but you think about the lower number of travellers already equals less revenue. So if you add discounted tours on top of that, and you're literally cutting away your bottom line, you're cutting away your profit, your profit margins, ultimately that's going to lead to financial disaster. So what you don't want to do is discount heavily. Like I say, there's a time and place. If anything, at the moment, you should be upping your prices, because I say the demand is there. It'll be my family. I have 2 children. We've been looking for a long time to book out a cabin somewhere in Scotland to just get away from everything and spend time with the family, or sit in the hot tub and do the things that we'd love to do, what my family and kids love to do. But we can't get anything anywhere. It's booked out because the demand is there. People are wanting to do something. So, and there's no discounts. If anything, the prices have risen. So whatever you do, don't discount at this moment in time if you can help it. It's just going to, at the end of the day, with less footfall and less travel demand from international customers, it's maybe not the thing you want to do. But no, think of that on a case-by-case basis. But ultimately, I'm not a fan of discounting. I prefer to add perceived value. So by adding something on to a product, whether it's an extra night or a free meal or whatever that would be, add perceived value rather than discounting. Because what you normally find is the added value, which a customer holds more dear to themselves. No, people are really getting sick and tired of 10% discounts, 15% discounts. But if you add something to it that makes them think, oh, I can get that if I book something up, that they'll see that as being more valuable, even if the cost of that is not as expensive as offering the discount, for example, to use a business. And to give you an example, although this is an extreme example because they are a multi-day tour company, and this company was based in Ireland. But what they are doing to try and entice more bookings for next year is to offer their product. But then because of Ireland, because of the whole ancestry type thing with Americans and everything else, and the whole genealogy type aspect to it, they're offering 6 months free subscription to Ancestry, which was cheaper than offering say a 50% discount or 10% discount, that type of thing. So adding something to that that gives people something to look at, to use now, possibly, before they come out on tour or before they come out to experience your product, is something I would say is better at the moment rather than trying to add a discount. So add perceived value, and your customers will value that more than they would at a discount. So again, without sounding doom and gloom, but in my strong opinion, if you do not have a domestic strategy now, your business is more likely to fail within 18 months. Again, because of international problems that we have, because of COVID. Unless I say there's some miracle that a vaccine is suddenly in place, and even if there is a vaccine in place, that is only going to go out to key workers, the elderly, that type of thing initially. There's no way we're going to vaccine 60 million people in the UK or whatever it is, all within a space of a few weeks or a couple of months. That's going to take a long time. So you have to plan for domestic travel for the next 18 months and have that in your strategy. Basically, as I run a marketing agency, I advise many tourism businesses all the time. The marketing rulebook has literally been thrown out at the moment. Normally you would plan a strategy for 3 months, 6 months, a year. You know what you're going to do and what you're trying to do in terms of your messaging, your promotions, your products, that type of thing. But ultimately, this is changing. Everything that's going on at the moment, the marketing strategies are changing week by week, month on month, because of restrictions and lockdowns and everything else. We're already seeing Glasgow, some restrictions in place. We're already seeing parts of the UK, like Bolton and etc., be going back into lockdown. It's what's going to happen for the foreseeable future. So you have to plan your strategy around that and just be a bit more proactive and reactive to what's happening at the moment. So domestic strategy for the next 18 months is key. I would also say focus on things like day tours, or if you're a tour company, short weekend breaks, if you're in accommodation, that type of thing. And the reason being is, with many businesses and many people have been on furlough, many businesses have been working from home. We're all starting to get back to, or most of us starting to get back to offices, that type of thing. So people being able to book out a week's holiday, a 2-week vacation, a 2-week trip, 2-week holiday is going to become harder because they've literally had 5 or 6 months off. So being able to take that break away when businesses are just starting to get back, that's going to be harder for people to do. So a day trip away somewhere or a short weekend break, that is probably, and what we're seeing is going to be the main focus going forward, because that would be a stronger pull for people to get back to do a short weekend break and then get back to their offices for doing their work during the week, or get back to their homes to work from home, that type of thing. So short weekend breaks and sort of day trips, that type of thing is going to be stronger going forward for the foreseeable future. That's not to say longer trips won't happen, but you'll probably see more short weekend breaks. And that's from the research that we've been doing with the customers that we've been working with. This is what we've been seeing, is people are more focused on these type of products, short weekend breaks and day tours. What we're also seeing is more and more people are, and partly because of uncertainty of what's happening, but more and more people are inquiring at the moment rather than booking online. Now, booking online is vastly important. You need to provide that, and I'll come on to that in a second. But more people are inquiring, so you should have things like chatbots on your, or chat facilities on your websites. You should be having forms where people can fill in to inquire about a product. Even if you're running any Facebook advertising, having people to fill out a form on Facebook to inquire about a product is another big one that we are seeing a lot more people inquiring through straight on Facebook to see what's available and that type of thing as well. So make sure you have all these things in place to make it easier for people to get in contact with you. The sales process is going to be longer, yes, of course, but people have questions, and this is what ultimately we have to do to try and drive those leads, drive those sales and those bookings and etc., and generate that revenue. So as I say, focus on tailor-made trips and inquiry-based products. So online booking is still massively important, as I say. Now, when you think about what's happening in the world at the moment, more and more people are buying things online. More and more people are being comfortable of buying things online, especially the older generation. Now, if I thought before COVID, my mother being on WhatsApp video calls or ordering her online shop online through an iPad, we would have just laughed. But it's happening. The older generation are having to do these things. And what that's actually doing is making them more aware and building up their confidence to buy online. So people will be doing, even the older generation will be doing more of this going forward. So online booking is still hugely important, and every business should have some form of online booking if they can. But at the moment, people are seeming to inquire more, again, because they've got questions, they've got things that they want to ask. In fact, before I go into the next section, the other thing I was wanting to add to this is, with the older generation, as I say, they are inquiring more. They are looking to book online. We are possibly seeing, and this may sound extreme, but I can see this happening in the next 5 to 10 years. We are possibly seeing the death of paper money, of coins, because COVID, one of the big aspects of that being transmitted and passed is through surfaces. So people handing over money, people doing that type of action of handing over money in paper notes and coins and everything else is going to become less and less, because people are going to be less inclined to do so just to be on the safe side. So online bookings and contactless payments, all these type of things is just going to grow. And we could be seeing the death of paper money because of COVID, because of what's going on as well. So it's just something to bear in mind, that why online booking, why contactless payments, etc., are going to soar going forward, just because of that aspect. So it's just something to consider in terms of how that can work within your own business if you don't already have that facility. So now I want to talk about some key demographics. Now, these are key demographics that we are seeing in terms of potentials for a lot of businesses going forward. Now, not one of these key demographics is going to possibly work for your business, but there might be a few of them that work together. There could be one that may just work for your business, but ultimately these are the demographics that we are seeing are going to be bigger going forward from some of our other customers and other industries around the world, what's happening with them. And this is just to give you an indication, hopefully some inspiration of who you can target in terms of marketing. I'm a huge fan of Facebook advertising. One of the workshops we've got coming up will be focusing on Facebook advertising. Because to me, it's one of the cheapest forms of targeting your potential customer, especially from a local and domestic market. It's key, and it's relatively cheap. But the target specifics are so amazing. And we'll come on to some of this during this workshop in terms of what's being out there, how you can target some of these key demographics on Facebook. So I wanted to give you a little rundown on this before we go into one of the future workshops. We can go into real more in depth in terms of how this would be. But let me go over some of the key demographics in terms of things you could be focusing on just now. So as I say, the over 60s, they are being more online. They are gaining confidence of booking online. So this is one target audience you could be looking at if you do not already. So through Facebook advertising, you could easily target over 60s with specific criteria and target them to know more about your business, raise that awareness, bring them to your website, get them to fill out forms on Facebook to inquire, that type of thing. And to give you an example, we are working with a company down in Cornwall, and they are focusing purely on people in London to get away from London, to come out and take a private sort of chauffeur tour around the Cotswolds. It could be for a day or a short weekend break, staying at various places, then doing tours of the Cotswolds. He's purely targeting people in London, and he's within the space of less than 2 months. He's had 328 leads from that, and that's been purely driven from a Facebook ad. They've all been through the Facebook form, because people don't like, although sometimes it's good to send people to a website, and that would be one option we'd always recommend anyway. People don't really like leaving their apps, so they want to inquire directly on Facebook. And when they hit that submit form, their details are already automatically filled in because Facebook knows their details. So all they have to do is hit the submit button. So it's super easy for them to do so. So as long as the ads are super targeted and you know it's targeting your right key demographic, the leads will hopefully come in and they'll be qualified leads for you in terms of what the type of people that you are looking for. And this is going to be bigger going forward for the over 60s. As I say, they're becoming more online. They're gaining that trust of booking online because they've had to book it on their online shops and everything else, being on video chats. So it's going to be a huge market going forward and a bigger market going forward. Students and schools. Now, this is one I wanted to highlight. Might not be suitable for everyone, but let me come on to students first. So students are, like everyone else, being in lockdown. They've not been able to go to college or university. They've not been able to see their friends. They've not been able to do what students do, go out to bars and clubs and cafes, that type of thing, or meet with friends and get together at a cabin, for example, and spend a weekend somewhere, that type of thing. They've not been able to do that. And I don't like to tarnish all students with the same brush, but probably for the first time in their lives, they've been saving money. So as soon as the restrictions are lifted, which we've already seen in many places, they will want to do something. They will want to go somewhere. They will want to spend time with their friends and family as well, and go somewhere. So if you're running a hotel or accommodation, a guest house or an Airbnb, or you run certain activities with outdoor activities and that type of thing, which can bring groups of people together in a safe environment, students is a good market for that, just to bring people back together. But also schools. Think about next year as well for schools. Now, many schools offer school trips abroad, overseas, whether it's skiing or whether it's walking or whether it's city sightseeing or whatever that is. That's not going to happen. Schools are not going to send kids or pupils out to these destinations. So they will be looking for somewhere closer to home. They will be looking at places to go in Scotland. They will be looking at places to go in the UK. So entice them to come to you, entice them to take out your product or your service or whatever it is that you offer. Bring them here, bring them to Scotland, bring them up to say, okay, you can experience something here, whether it's hill walking, whether accommodation, or whatever it is that you do, entice them to here. So schools is going to be a big one going forward, because like I say, many schools who take the students abroad, that's not going to happen. So 2021 could be, looking at that aspect, could be a good one going forward for your business. Another one, which should be a sort of no-brainer, is the corporate market and local businesses. So think about businesses in Scotland. We've all, I'm a business owner myself, like many of you watching this, we've all been in lockdown, we've all had to work from home. Many people have been on furlough, they're just starting to get back to business and back to their work. So those businesses, the good ones, will want to bring their staff and bring the employees together for team building opportunities, because we have been such apart for so long. In fact, I just saw a post the other day from a business that I know based in Glasgow that I've just gone back to the office this week, a brand new office with their staff, and they were lucky enough to hire staff during COVID, and none of those staff have actually met. Yesterday, when they got into the office, was the first time they actually all met in person, within social distancing, of course. So bringing people together to do an activity, to do something, or within the tourism sphere in Scotland, to build up that team and build those team opportunities and bring people together and build up those connections between the staff. It's going to be big going forward. People will want to do, and business owners will want to do more of this type of thing, because, like I say, we've all been stuck at home for so long. So there is opportunities there in terms of corporate, there's opportunities there in terms of local businesses to bring people together, to bring small groups together, to let their hair down, build up those bonding opportunities going forward. So local businesses, corporate is another big one to think about going forward. Another no-brainer is families with children. Like I say, I have children myself. Parents just want to get their kids out, let kids be kids again, meet up with their friends. My daughter broke down a few times during COVID, thinking she was never going to see her friends again, and she was never going to go back to school. It's hard on them as well. So being able to bring families together, let children be children, having products that, whether it's treasure hunts or gamifying your products or adding something to it that's catered for children, where families can go, the parents can maybe relax for a couple of hours, and then the kids are going off and doing some sort of activity, or if you're staying at an accommodation, you have things there that kids can easily do to give the parents a break. That is going to be huge going forward. So think about what you can do to add a sort of children-friendly aspect to your product. Those who celebrated a milestone, again, is huge. With Facebook, you can target people who had a birthday in the previous months, and I'll show you that in a second. So a lot of people have had to celebrate a birthday, an anniversary, whatever that would be, but they've had to do it over a Zoom chat. They've not been able to celebrate properly. So that could be a target audience. Your messaging around marketing could be based on that, to say, hey, you didn't celebrate your birthday properly. Why don't you stay in our accommodation? Why don't you take an activity with us? Or et cetera, and celebrate it properly with your a small group of friends or family in a safe environment. Another one you could target on Facebook easily, and it could be another one going forward. Frontline staff, it goes without saying, they've all been working hard, making sure the world keeps ticking over, putting themselves in the forefront of everything that's going on. Why not create ads or do something on social media or put content out there specific for them to say, you've been working your arse is off basically for, excuse my French, but for the last 6 months. Why don't you let your hair down? Why don't you come out and spend time with us for a day or a weekend and just enjoy yourselves and get away from it all? And this would be the only opportunity I would say you may do want to offer a discount as a way to say thank you, to say thanks for all your hard work. Here's something in return, and bring you out. So that could be another target audience that you look at as well. And again, you can target them specifically on Facebook as well. So think about frontline staff. Adventure seekers, as we know, outdoor activities is huge at the moment. Anything that you can do outdoors, if you happen to do products that allow that type of facility, or even if you run accommodation and but you have activity centres or archery centres or whatever it is you have round about you. So if you're promoting your accommodation, promote those activities as well that you can have on your doorstep, because that will drive people to your business, because people are looking for things to do, whether it's horseback riding or something. People are looking for things to do outside. So adventure seekers and outdoor activities is huge. But also foodies as well. Bringing people together, small groups together, families and friends. Food is a great way to bring people together. So if you run food tours, you have a great opportunity to do so. If you run an accommodation, by maybe having one of the nights where, as part of that added value, you add on a free meal. You could have something delivered to people in terms of within that accommodation from a takeaway, or if you're lucky enough to have accommodation with a chef, is giving them a free meal for that night. Something that brings people together, and food is a great driver for that, as I say. So think about foodies, and again, you can target foodies directly on Facebook. So there is other platforms you can use like Google Ads, etc. But for me, Facebook is the cheapest one, as I say, and it's a lot more targeted, and you can be specific on it as well. So I wanted just to highlight some of those things that I've spoken about. And I'm conscious of time, so I want to go through these and then leave some questions, some time for questions at the end. So this was me looking at Moray in terms of a destination and people who had birthdays, etc. So you can see here, we can select birthdays, people with birthdays in March, June, the months that they had birthdays previously. So you can target them from the months that they were in lockdown, basically. So you can target your area. You can look at you can basically target specific birthdays by month. And if you look at your area, and if you look at people who had a birthday in March, May, June, April, February, etc., there's 13,000 people just within your area that could be targeted on Facebook right now, within the 18 to 65 bracket, that you could target right now with some sort of celebrate it properly with us type marketing angle in your area. So that's, it's not a huge area, but there's still 13,000 people who had a birthday in any of those months. So there's potential customer base right there. You could run an ad for a couple of pounds a day if your budget's really tight, £5 a day, £10 a day, targeting those people with a specific ad to entice them to your product, to your service, to bring them there. So hopefully that could give you an indication of what's there. And hopefully you don't hear the lawnmower in the background. Somebody next door it looks like they're mowing their lawn. So hopefully you don't hear that. So apologies if you do. So here's me looking slightly further afield. Here's me looking at some of the key cities using the same criteria. Aberdeen, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Inverness. 630,000 people with a birthday in those previous months that you could be targeting right now if you want to target further afield. Huge amount of people, and that's been targeting specifically on people with birthdays. You can look at anniversaries, that type of thing as well. But that's a huge potential there of people that you could be targeting right now to bring them to your product. So this is just to give you an indication if you want to target, again, further afield in London, 280,000 people in London who have birthdays in those months, who are foodies, so people who love food. Like I say, that company in the Cotswolds is targeting people in London to come to the Cotswolds. why not target people in London to come to Scotland or visit, the area to try and take out one of your products? The domestic market is huge. 280,000 people in London specifically with a birthday in some of those months as well. So again, don't just think about within Scotland, think about further afield as well. So here is, again, narrowed down a little bit further. So again, looking at the main cities, looking at those people who have birthdays in those months, but added the interest of a foodie. So people who love food. Still 140,000 people in those areas that you could be targeting. Again, you can narrow it down further and keep narrowing it down with different interests, and etc., etc. So I hope that gives you an idea of how Facebook can work. And again, we'll go into a lot more in depth in one of the future workshops, but it's just to give you an indication of what you could be targeting now in terms of these areas. So again, slight change in this one. This is targeting the main cities, but people who are like outdoor recreation, but with the added interest that they also must match adventure travel. So people who love adventure travel, people who love being outdoors, 680,000 people within Scotland alone who fit that criteria that you could be targeting right now. It's huge. And Facebook allows you to do that relatively cheaply. There's no others. I guarantee you there's no other form of marketing out there that allows you to target such specifics and is a cheaper option, and it allows you to get a high amount of reach in terms of your people getting to see your brands, getting to see your business on their phones, on their desktops, etc. No other platform can do that. Now, Google Ads, people are more already got it in their mind of maybe what they want to do or things that they want to do in a particular area. So they'll maybe do a search on that. And again, we'll come on to that in a second. So that's people already got an idea. But with Facebook, no one goes onto social media to buy a product. So with Facebook, you have to take them along that journey of knowing and trusting your brand, showing them what type of product that you have, why you are the best, building up the trust in terms of highlighting reviews or highlighting aspects of the experience and why you are so good at what you do before asking for the sale. So there's a process you go through that, and the future workshop will highlight that. So this is some Google trends that I wanted to show of what's happening just now in terms of searches, in terms of search results, which may give you an indication of where the industry is going or how potential travellers in the local markets are looking at things at the moment. So started off with just looking at tours, anything that had a sort of tour-related search term. Over the last 12 months within Scotland, unfortunately you can't narrow that down to an individual city when you use Google Trends. So it's you have to look at Scotland. And you can see there the dip in August in April, March, April when COVID hit. But then it's starting to rise. So people are starting to look for more activities, more tours, that type of thing of what they're looking to do. So it is on the rise. People are looking for things to do, although it's slowly on the rise. What is more on the rise is some of the other aspects as well. Accommodation is huge. So people with an Airbnb type search within Scotland, you can see the dip there, and then it skyrocketed as soon as restrictions were lifted. It went down a little bit again, but it's still higher than what it was during the main part of the lockdown. So people are looking for places to stay. And if they're looking for places to stay, they will be looking for activities to do if you're on a tour company. So searches around accommodation are huge. Looking at the Airbnb aspects, so you can see a lot of that's in Edinburgh, Killearn, Inverness. So there's a big one there. Aberdeen as well. So people are looking for accommodations for Airbnb in these areas. We can also see related queries, Airbnb, coronavirus, that's still playing on people's minds. Airbnb are near me, Airbnb, St Andrews, blah, 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 blah. So you can see there what people are looking for. Most people are looking for things like what experiences are around about that as well, in terms of what they can do. A log cabin is another one as well. So again, this is just giving you an indication of what people are searching for now. And this can give you an idea of, okay, what can you do to tailor your products for these type of searches? So that's Airbnb, but let's look at accommodation in general. Again, very similar curve. It's shot right up, and then it's staying fairly steady in terms of from last week, or from last month. So accommodation is a great indicator of seeing where the industry, what people's intentions are, because that will lead on to other things. Travel to get there, activities, things to do, going to restaurants, you name it. Accommodation is always a good indicator for that. If it was international travel, I would say look at flights first, but we know that's not really going to happen at the moment. So accommodation is a good indicator. And we can see there within Scotland, has shot right up. People are looking for things to do and looking for things to go to within their own destination. So the information is there. Using Google Trends gives you so much information in terms of what's happening in terms of search terms. So again, if we look at accommodation in general, Inverness right at the top of the list, you can see some of the other destinations in there as well, and other things that people are looking for. One of the main aspects you can see there is self-catering accommodation in Scotland. Again, possibly because of COVID and restrictions, people are looking for more self-catering opportunities. So if you don't have that option, it's maybe an option to look at as well. Imagine anyone who is watching this who does run an accommodation does have a self-catering option. But again, it's just highlighting that this is what people are looking for. So when you're putting out your messaging on social media, when you're putting out your messaging on Facebook or in your content, having those keywords in there to say, book your self-catering accommodation, etc., etc. No, having that within your titles and having that within your content. So if people are searching for this, you will hopefully show up in the search terms for this type of thing. Self-catering accommodation in Scotland would be a big keyword to use there. I imagine we'll have a lot of competition, but it's just to give you an idea of what you should be thinking of. Google Trends is a good aspect for this. But let's look at flights. As I mentioned, it dropped off the face of the planet pretty much when the restrictions were lifted, were brought in place rather, and it stayed pretty much the same way. There's a slight rise, but it's not really grew at all. So flights information is still low, and again, Google Trends is showing that. And this is why the domestic markets, this is why no one in Scotland is really looking for flights abroad. No one is looking for flights or anything like that. The staycation market is going to be huge if you haven't figured that out already. So focus on that for 2021. Please do not entirely focus on international travel or expect that to pick up anytime soon. I hate to say it, but it's not going to pick up anytime soon unless some miracle happens. So domestic, all indications are there. The stats are showing this. Things to do in Scotland, again, shot right up September, August time, because restrictions are lifted, that type of thing. So people are looking for things to do in Scotland. The trends are there. So it's shot right up. And then what you're finding is, and it's the same with the accommodation, it's dropped a little, but it's dropped a little because people are starting to go back to their offices, as go back to businesses, that type of thing. So that I was expecting to see an initial rise. People wanted to do something before their furloughs stopped and before they had to go back to, kids had to go back to school, which is also another factor. The school terms starting back up again. That's why you've probably seen that drop off again. But it's still staying at a higher rate than it was pre-COVID, before pre-lockdowns rather. So people are still looking for things to do. They're still looking to take their kids somewhere. They're still looking to take families and friends and go somewhere, etc., etc. So again, another key indicator of what's happening in the industry at this moment in time. At the end of the day, with everything I've shown you, you've got to assess, adapt, and survive going forward. And that's ultimately all you can really do at the moment. So assess the situation, look at Google Trends, look at the information that's out there on Facebook, look at the key demographics in your area, focus on domestic, and then adapt your business to cater for as many of those aspects as possible. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be, we're going to be in this for the long haul, but this is what you must do to survive. Because as I say, if you're betting on international travel picking up, it's not going to anytime soon. And I can't stress that enough. I hope to God that it does pick up soon, but I just can't see it happening. And for all indications from the stats and the surveys and the flights and the information that's out there, unfortunately, we're going to see probably more businesses going out of business in terms of airlines, in terms of all these other things. There's going to be more hurt coming. So don't focus on international for as much as you can. Look at the domestic, look at the local markets, and adapt your products to cater for that. And it will be hard, but you will end up building a stronger business for the future going forward. So that's what I would say on that matter. So as it was mentioned, there's going to be a guide being sent out it's around 40 pages or so, highlighting some of this information as well as some other information. So that's the guys are going to send that out to you after this workshop. And as I say, we've got 3 other workshops coming up, which are all going to be sort of around about the 2-hour mark. So they're going to be in-depth workshops, highlighting opinions, highlighting things that you should be doing to market your business going forward, and going into a lot more in-depth with each topic. So each one will probably be an hour and a half-ish, and then there'll be questions and things that people want to ask at the end of them as well. So the next one, which will be next week, is all about direct bookings and why they matter so much. So should you focus on OTAs and your online travel agents like your TripAdvisors, etc., your Booking.coms, why direct is going to be a bigger aspect you should be looking at going forward. But then I'm also going to be looking in this workshop about a lot of questions I get asked is people saying that they can't afford websites, because so many businesses in Scotland still don't have a really good website, or don't have a website at all. They don't have any online booking facility, because they feel it's going to cost them the earth. And I'm going to show you that it doesn't need to cost you the earth. You can literally build a booking website using a really great theme, building a website with a booking platform, integrating that with PayPal or Stripe, that type of thing. And you could do that for a few £100s. It doesn't need to cost you thousands and thousands of pounds. So I'm going to show you how you can do that in that workshop, as well as talking about direct bookings. The next workshop is all going to be about video marketing. I'm a huge fan of video marketing. Video is, for me, is hands down one of the best marketing tools that you can use. Scotland has such great, amazing scenery. We have such amazing people and culture. You're all very knowledgeable about what you do. Use video facilities, and filming on iPhones. If you can see that there you go. Filming on iPhones, etc., makes it easy for people to do so. So video is huge, and I'm going to show you how you can show you good examples of videos, but how you can also create content ideas for videos, and then show you how you can take one of those ideas, create a video from it, and then use that one piece of footage to break that down to create around 100 days worth of content from one video. So if you have multiple videos, you can have multiple days worth of content, and it's showing you how you can plan that out and what you can do with that. So I'm going to show you that within the second workshop, which will be the week after. And then the last week, there'll be the power of Facebook ads to drive leads and sales. And I'm going to show you the methods that we use to do so. So it's what I call the Facebook funnel method of bringing people to raise awareness about your brand, or raise awareness about your business, and drive those important direct bookings, raise the trust, and then ultimately asking for the sale. I'm going to show you the process of how that works and some live examples of what we've done with other customers and how that worked for them. So 3 great workshops will hopefully give you some value in terms of what you should be doing now to build up your marketing channels going forward, how you should market yourself going forward through video or Facebook, and then using all that to target some of those key demographics that I have shown you throughout this talk as well. So that's an overview of what I feel you should be doing marketing going forward, and how I see the industry, what's happening in the industry now in terms of what you should be focusing on domestic, you should be focusing on local, what's going to happen with international travel. So I hope I don't scare you off with some of the information there, but I felt it was only right and proper to give you my honest opinion of what I feel and what I have seen and what others are saying in the industry of what is going to happen. Now, I think with there's a lot of miscommunication going around just now, people thinking that international travel is going to pick up, etc., etc. I would say if that happens, great, but don't plan on it. Plan for the other things first, and if it happens, then see it as a bonus. But hopefully this has given you some indication of how I see this going forward and what's going to happen in the industry over the next 18 to 24 months. So I'll hand back over to Laurie and the team, Shona, and if anyone's got any questions, I'll happily answer them.
Chris, that's spot on. Thank you. I can see there's a question in from Lucy already, but I just want to take a couple of seconds to say that's really good. Thank you very much for taking us through that quite a whistle-stop tour. A couple of things I wanted to ask around Facebook ads. So how much money, so I'm a self-caterer, I have a pretty restricted budget. How much reasonably should I be looking at as maybe a daily budget to just gently test this?
Yeah, it's a good question. What we say is with Facebook, you can, especially at the local and domestic markets, it's a lot cheaper. If you're obviously targeting international, bit more budget, etc. It needs to be spent, but you could literally be targeting the specifics that I've shown you there and some other specifics for as little as £2 a day. And you could get a decent reach with that. £5 a day is usually the sweet spot, I would say. But if you can afford anything between £2 and £5 a day, you will get a decent reach. You will, and if anything, that's going to get more people to your brand. People might not be, as I mentioned earlier in the talk, people might not be quite ready to book yet, but at least it's getting them or you in their minds in terms of your business. It's raising that awareness. So when they are ready, they'll come back and they'll remember you and do all these other things. I understand that a lot of businesses just want to get bookings, they want to get revenue in the door. And I completely understand that. But you're not going to do that without raising awareness and letting people know who you are first. So that's the awareness side of it. Such a huge, important aspect of it. But you can easily do that for a couple of pounds a day, targeting the specifics that I mentioned.
Perfect, spot on. So there's a question in from Lucy, who has lovely Rose Bay Cottage in Findhorn. So I wonder, this is a little bit about the difference between posts and ads. So maybe take a step back. And I know that you're going to do this in a later session, but to understand boosting a post versus identifying an audience through targeting.
Yeah, so it's a very good question, actually. So boosting a post is literally what it says. It's allowing you to have your post seen by more of your Facebook followers, or potentially an external followers who are not on your Facebook page. As we all know, Facebook limits the amount of reach that a post has because ultimately they want you to pay for that reach. So boosting a post is fine for raising engagement and awareness. But an ad, in my opinion, you can be a lot more targeted. Because what normally happens is that someone will click boost post, they'll just pay the £20 or the £10 or whatever they want to do to boost it, and then it will just go out and be seen by their Facebook group. But what you can actually do is you can actually set up an ad, still using that post, but go through the actual ad process of setting up the ad within Facebook, and you can be a lot more specific in terms of the reach, in terms of the interest, in terms of the demographics that you hit. And in my opinion, it's better to actually create an ad than boost a post. You get seen by more people, and you get a lot more stats in terms of the number of people who have seen it and all the analytics that go behind it, etc., etc. So boosting posts are fine if you're just wanting to let more people see a blog post or a specific topic or something like that you're posting up. But if it's something more to drive awareness and leads, etc., you're better being placed with the ads. But ultimately, I prefer ads more than boosting posts personally. Yeah.
So I am looking at horrid new Facebook as we speak, because I see on my computer it keeps forcing me to adapt to a new look and feel, which I'm terribly uncomfortable with. But if I were Lucy and I'm going from the Rose Bay Cottage Facebook page, am I just going down to create promotion, and that's where my audience, I can find starting to mine my audience?
Yeah, for sure. So it's
pretty much as simple as that, is it?
Yeah. Part of what I would always say is anything you can do in an advert, and we do come on to this in the future workshop, but anything you can do in an ad that entices one of your customers to sign up through Facebook or sign up to leave their name and email, you do need to give something back in return, whether that's a downloadable guide or some form of value. And I wouldn't say a discount code again. I'm not a big fan of discount codes, but if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But again, I would advise against it. But it's something that allows people to leave their email address, because a lot of people, that's such a forgotten aspect of a lot of the marketing on social media or on Facebook. Again, forgive me if some people are watching this know this already, but if you build up your email marketing lists, it's not just about sending out emails. You can upload all that information into Facebook to target them specifically on Facebook to create a custom audience. You could literally upload all your past customers into Facebook and create a lookalike audience that Facebook will find people similar to them. You could even assign beside each customer the value of what they've spent, and Facebook will go out and find people who are more likely to spend that same amount of money, and then build up a new audience from that to entice those people to your product and service. So building up an email marketing list is such a huge aspect, and it's not just about email lists. So anything you can do in your ads to build up that email list is what I would say. This is probably the time to do that now, whether it's inquiring for a future booking, whether it's a tailor-made aspect, or whether it's offering something of value. Get those emails, get those informations. And that's, again, we'll come on to this in the next workshop, but that's one of the downsides of using something like an online travel agent, like a TripAdvisor, is you don't get that information until the actual person has took out your product, and even then you might not get it as well, just depending on what you're doing. Sometimes you have to use digital waivers and other things to try and bring in that information. So ultimately the OTAs own that information, so rather than yourselves. But again, we'll come on to the next workshop. But ultimately you want to drive as many leads as possible, and building that email marketing list is huge.
Spot on. So even if that's as simple as having a sign up to my newsletter, sign up for updates on your Facebook page, and then you can begin that conversation around come and stay at New Year, come and stay at Christmas, here's what we've come in the spring, and make sure that that's nice target. You're not paying a 25-30% commission to send it out. So that's all jolly news.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so we massively value your time and recognize that this is just the start of kind of 3-4 weeks of a journey. We have had, as an organization, I guess as a region and as an industry, a pretty interesting 6 months. We're confident, though. We see green shoots, particularly around the self-catering sector, and that people wanting something quality, something tailored, something premium. So pretty confident that with the right ingredients and the right collaboration, we can see a reasonably brightish future. We have not publicized this quite yet, but we have told everyone we're doing a month of television activity with some targeted consumer 30-second Visit Murray Speyside advert going to other people in a 2.5 hour driving distance from Murray. That will be accompanied by again some digital activity, targeted Facebook ads, and so from today we're going to start sharing that with people. We've kept a bit of a lid on it because we wanted it to be a big thing. It will hopefully drive traffic, drive interest to everyone who's sitting on the calls, businesses, and we will take lessons from you as we progress in how we micro-target and make sure that we're getting to exactly the right people. So thank you very much, Chris.